A lot of Xbox fans had been kind of carrying on hope, thinking that Microsoft would, when they released their next platform or whatever, that it would be able to play PlayStation games that were on Steam by default because, it was supposed to be the Xbox was really basically just releasing a PC. And this thing is supposed to be rather expensive too. That the rumors are anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500, and I know some people might think that's a little bit ludicrous, but when you look at the fact that the Series X 2 terabyte is $850 right now, then you start to understand that, hey, the next Xbox being supposedly having 48 gigs of RAM in the middle of a RAM crisis, you could see how that would be very, very expensive, and maybe even more expensive than $1,500. But we'll have to wait and see for all of that. But, again, a lot of people were defending Microsoft's multi-platform approach with their games, saying, well, we'll be able to play every PlayStation game. It'll eventually come to Steam and we'll be able to play it. My argument to that has always been, as if somebody is looking for, if you're an Xbox fan and you're like the ecosystem and the Xbox achievements and, that kind of stuff, you're going to pay $1,500 possibly for this Xbox PC to download PlayStation games to Steam, which are usually poorly optimized, and not get Xbox achievements for these games or not play games that are optimized for your platform. That's kind of crazy to me because on the other side of the coin, PlayStation fans get Xbox games day one for the most part, and they're fully optimized for PlayStation, and they support trophies. So it's sort of weird. But anyway, there's another crimp in that plan as well. It looks like it's heavily rumored that this is coming out, that Sony is going to stop releasing single-player games on PC. The company seems to be changing its strategy to revolve around needing a PlayStation console. So anyway, the last few years have been seeing Sony embrace PC as a platform for the release of its single-player games, but Bloomberg's Jason Schreier believes that the company might be looking to revert this decision. He spoke about the possibility on a recent episode of a podcast. However, he went on to note that the company seemingly still plans to release live service games on PC to capture a wide audience as possible. He says, I quote, I think for them, their strategy is like live service games are coming to PC, but I think the sense I'm getting is that they're backing away from putting their exclusive console stuff, like traditional single-player stuff, on PC. Bringing up Marvel's Wolverine, Schreier noted that Sony seems to have no plans to bring it to PC. He says, quote, I mean, even if they don't, we are seeing Wolverine is coming September 15th, and it's not coming to PC, it's coming to PlayStation 5 only. I wouldn't be surprised if it never came to PS5. But even if it does, you have a strong idea of what that is and what you need a PlayStation to play, at least in the indefinite future. Responding to questions about it simply being speculation on recent aired forums, Schreier offered some clarification. He said that while he hasn't quite been ready to publish a whole story about Sony's pullback from multi-platform releases to its single-player games just yet, more details will be coming soon. And this is the part that I think a lot of people are talking about. Because a lot of people were saying, oh, well, he's just speculating, and this is what he says. And I quote, I mean, it's not speculation, but sometimes topics come up on a show before I'm quite ready to publish a story about it. More to come soon, I'm sure. So interestingly enough as well, John Linneman of Digital Foundry had expressed a similar belief. In a recent Q&A video, the host of Digital Foundry discussed Sony's PC ports and how the company has missed quite a few opportunities since the PS5's launch, including Demon's Souls and Gran Turismo 7. He says, I have an inkling that Sony is pulling away from PC. It's worth noting that Death Stranding 2 on the Beach is the only recent single-player PS5 game that's been confirmed to be getting a PC release. However, Kojima Productions isn't a first-party developer under PlayStation Studios' banner. Whether or not Ghost of Yotei gets a PC release will likely be a bigger indicator for Sony's plans for the platform moving forward. On the multiplayer side of things, the company has been seeing quite a bit of success with Helldivers 2. Looking forward, it'll likely be doing the same with the co-op focused Horizon Hunters Gathering, which was unveiled earlier this month. The title is slated to hit PC and PS5 on the same day, complete with cross-platform multiplayer and cross-progression. While Horizon Hunter Gatherers doesn't yet have a release date, Guerrilla Games has noted that it will return to making single-player Horizon games in the future. Rumors have indicated that Horizon 3 is still a long time away, however. So this was very interesting, and then other people have chimed in as well. Notable like insiders and stuff, I guess, like Nate the Hate and stuff, have also chimed in saying, hey, yeah, they're pulling back of the the single player games. So basically what this means is games as a service and multiplayer games would still probably go to PC day one. The single player stuff would stay on PlayStation, and the second party, third party stuff could also go to PC. So you look at Death Stranding 2, that's like a second party kind of thing. Kena Bridge of Spirits 2 or whatever, that's a second party thing, so that goes there as well. So that kind of stuff. And apparently there was some kind of change because that little mini God of War game, that $30 game that they kind of stealth dropped at their showcase the other week, apparently that game was originally going to launch on PC and Switch, and then they decided to cancel that last minute, even though it's kind of a more of a concept game. And those concept games could have gone anywhere according to Sony, but they pulled it back last minute and was like, nope, we're just going to release it on PlayStation 5. And so that's the way it goes. Now for me, I think this makes sense. And some people, I saw a lot of like PC dudes get like ticked off or whatever on X yesterday, like, well, they just don't like money. But if you look at in the last 7 years, Sony has made like 1.5 billion off of PC ports revenue, not profit, revenue. And so that's not a lot, because people go, oh, well, that's 1.5 billion, but that's less than 1% of Sony's total revenue during that time. So less than 1%. So if the revenue in total was less than 1%, what was the actual profit? I mean, they might have been breaking even, or might have been making next to nothing. And I think personally that Sony wants to gear up and have their platform look good for when GTA 6 comes out. Now, they're not going to come out and make an announcement and go, we're not putting first-party games on PlayStation or on PC anymore. They're not going to do that, right? You'll just see that they aren't going to announce a bunch of games for PC anymore. That's just like how it is. But what I believe kind of is happening is there's a couple of different things playing into the role here. One, even though it wouldn't have sold well, they don't want people buying the next quote-unquote Xbox and being able to play PlayStation games through Steam. And same thing with like the ROG Ally or whatever. Now, hardly anyone has a ROG Ally, but still, they don't want people to play PlayStation games through that means. The other thing is that Sony just, they probably are looking at GTA 6, which is coming to consoles only. Everybody's going to be buying a PlayStation 5 for that. They probably want people to, maybe that have a PC, maybe want to get a PlayStation. And I know people might go, no, nobody's going to do that. But think about it. GTA 6 is going to be console exclusive for a year, maybe 2 years. And somebody might go, well, I don't want to get a PlayStation for just one game. But, you might get one for GTA 6, College Football, Galactic, the next God of War, Wolverine, Venom, right? Soros. If all their games, their single-player games are exclusive, you might, like, change your tune a little bit and just go, okay, well, I'll get I'll get a PlayStation. So, again, really cool the way that this has kind of turned out, and it does make Microsoft look pretty bad. I saw a lot of Xbox fans get really salty and had a lot of copium and stuff, but it's like, listen, just because Microsoft told you that exclusives were passé or the exclusives were, out of style or whatever, doesn't make it true. And I've mentioned this numerous times. Microsoft will say what they say to make themselves look better to their fans and to their investors. Let's just be real about it. So that doesn't make it so. It doesn't make it true. Like, if you look at the majority of Microsoft games that they've released on PC, that most of them have flopped. Hellblade 2, Avowed, Indiana Jones, Doom: The Dark Ages. It's like they flop and flop and flop, and they still continually put them on there. So I actually applaud Sony for going out there and, saying, okay, well, we took a chance with this, but we didn't like how it was possibly cutting into, into what our console was selling or whatever. And that's something that I think really kind of says a lot. And seeing the people kind of backtracking and things like that, I think that it's very interesting. And we're gonna see how this kind of works sort of long term or whatever. So I think that it's a smart move. I think it's a good move. I think it really hampers Microsoft, and it shows the pettiness. Like, Sony still doesn't like Microsoft, despite Microsoft putting their games on there, right? It's a one-way street. So, again, I ask, why is Microsoft so accommodating to a company that keeps trying to literally run their hardware out of business? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.